All right. Well, CBS Sports' Jordan Dajani wrote over the weekend his NFC North over-under win total predictions. And I want to take a moment, get your thoughts on some of these. Let's start in Chicago. The Bears, over-under right now set at 6.5 games. They went 6-11 last year. Vegas thinks they won't improve much, if at all. Dajani said he's taken the under and mentions, just as we both have said here plenty of times, they struggled to add any playmakers for the development of Justin Fields. You know I agree with him, even saying the Bears will be picking in the top 5 next year. That's my hot take. But over or under 6.5 games for the Bears in 2022, Reggie?
I think that's about right. I put that there. I think they'll be energized. They'll have, I think they'll play hard. Matt Eberflus coming over from Indy. I think he's going to be a good head coach in the league. And so I think they'll play hard for him. But what he has to do is figure out the whole Justin Fields situation. They drafted him to be the franchise guy. And so far in your tenure, at the very start, him and the new GM, like, you didn't do enough to put the supporting cast around Justin Fields to make a lot of us feel comfortable about what they're doing on offense. And you're just like, well, maybe they're going to try to, pound it in the running game, have a strong running game. That's fine. But, I'm not necessarily all that scared about that either when you're talking about playing the Bears. The only thing that really kind of scares me about it is, Justin Fields is a playmaker and he'll be able to extend plays. He'll make, some cool things happen with his legs, and he'll make the wild throws. The dude has an absolute cannon. We've seen it, and he's a gamer as well. And so he'll help them win some games this year, but there's only so much that he can do with a limited amount of skill position talent around him. He loses Allen Robinson, and they really don't replace him with much. You talk about, St. Brown, Byron Pringle, Tajay Sharp. I mean, that's a name that, maybe 3-4 years ago, you're like, okay, Tajay Sharp. But like now it's just like, well, really haven't seen or heard a whole bunch about him in recent years to make you really kind of scared of what he can do. He has talent. And then they're relying on guys like Mooney, who is probably going to be wide receiver 1. I saw just a video this morning of him mossing some kids at a camp. But then you're talking about the rookie Jones, who, they're thinking might be a breakout guy. And it's just like, there's too many ifs and too many variables. Right. Like, you want to think Jones is going to be a good pick for them and a solid rookie receiver, because, these rookies are just kind of rookieing out of control lately, with Justin Jefferson a couple years ago, Jamar Chase last year. Maybe you think a guy like Jones could come through and be a guy, but, when you're relying on him, Mooney, St. Brown, Pringle, you're just like, I'm not really sure.
Let's not forget Jamar Chase, top 5 pick, Biletnikoff Award winner.
Right.
Stud right away for a reason, right? We knew the talent. Justin Jefferson, first-round pick for a reason.
Right.
Velus Jones, I really like the guy. I really do. But to put all of this expectations and all your eggs in these baskets of Mooney, Velus Jones, when you look at the over-unders of these, you really got to look at the schedule up and down. And they start against the Niners and the Packers. But then there's a handful of winnable games: Texans, Giants, Washington, New England. Mm-hmm. We'll see how they do. But it's going to be tough, man. You mentioned losing Allen Robinson. You lose Akeem Hicks. You lose Khalil Mack. And who do you bring in, again, to be the big prize free agent pickup, the new weapon for your young quarterback? Byron Pringle? Come on.
Yeah. Velus Jones, baby.
I don't like it. All right. Next
Time
one.
to shine.
Detroit Lions. Vegas thinks they'll actually be worse than the Bears. Lions over-under set at just 6 games. I really like Dan Campbell and what that front office is doing over there, but they did only win 3 games last season. How do you think the Lions end up with another year under Campbell and another good offseason with Aiden Hutchinson and Jamison Williams?
I'm fairly optimistic about what the Lions are going to do. They got 6. I think the crazy thing is Jared Goff. Sean McVay was able to get a lot out of Jared Goff, and that helped. But it's just like, I think he's just the guy. I feel like he's kind of like a poor man's Kirk Cousins, and that's saying a lot because Kirk Cousins is a solid quarterback, but I don't think anybody's expecting him to just light it on fire. And when you say that Jared Goff is like a poor man's Kirk Cousins, you're just not really. He doesn't throw a deep ball as well as Kirk Cousins, and he's not as consistent as Kirk Cousins. But he's a good, moderately good quarterback. He had enough to beat the Vikings last year. He made some just dazzling throws against them in that game that they won in the D last year. But like, other than that, it's just like, they put all these skill position guys around him. They put all this talent, talk about Hutchinson. And, now he's throwing to guys like Jamison Williams sometime later this fall. And you're just like, they got some pieces. Like, they might be able to compete a little bit. But I think keeping them at that 6-win total just because of the quarterback is probably right.
No, you're right. I mean, no easy gimmies in the NFL. Any given Sunday, and this is not a team you want to fall asleep on during the week.
Oh, no.
I think they're going to have a few shock factor games and wins during the season and flash some serious growth. But ultimately, you're right. It always comes back down to quarterback play, and Jared Goff just seems to be kind of trending in the wrong direction. Jamison Williams won't even be there to help him for the first 5, 6, 7, 8 games too. So
Right.
I'm taking the under here too. All right, Green Bay Packers have won 13 games or more in back-to-back seasons. And now, despite losing Davante Adams, their over-under actually went up from 10.5 last year to 11 this year. I know they added some great defensive pieces and look primed to have a new defense identity that can carry the load for Rodgers, take some pressure off the old man here. But could this be the year a little step back in regression finally takes place? Over or under 11 games for the Packers?
I don't think it'll be necessarily a regression. I think 11 is probably fair. I like a lot of these ones here with these over-under projections. I think they're like right on line with maybe what I think. I think Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, so he's going to keep them in as many games as possible. But, he doesn't necessarily have the same guys that he's been used to throwing to, and it's going to take some time. I saw some reports this morning that he did report to Lambeau Field for mandatory minicamp today, so that's promising. They're going to need that time. They're going to need that work to really kind of like get them together. But at the same time, it's just like you don't lose a guy like Davante Adams and the offense gets better. And it's great that you're, doing the thing with the defense and all that. But what we've seen with the NFL is these offenses are just uber dynamic. And I know that playoff game between the Packers and the 49ers earlier this year was kind of like a throwback in a way because it wasn't very high scoring. Defense and special teams made the difference. And it's like, in the playoffs, those type of things happen. And so their mind is there as far as like getting to the playoffs and being in position to be able to, duke it out with a team like the Niners again, if that were to happen. They don't feel like they would suffer the same fate with some of the moves that they've made. But look, man, the offense is always it's always going to be what sells games and what brings people to these games. And I think they lost a little bit on that. And, if they're trying to play teams to a 12-6, 12-10 game, great, whatever. But I just don't see that happening. So I put that, I want to say maybe 12, maybe, but I think the 11 is right there.
Yeah, again, I go back. You got to kind of cherry pick and look at this schedule, and you start with the division. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, they got Chicago and Detroit for 4 games alone, 2 teams who just kind of ripped apart. That's 4-0 right there alone before I even start to dive into the rest of the schedule. They split with Minnesota every year, and that's why they win 13 games every season. They go 5-1 practically every year in the division and end up with that 1 or 2 seed in the NFC heading into the playoffs. As much as it hurts, I'll take the over as well. And I hope at worst, I think if you're a betting man, that you get a push with 11 wins because it seems seems like kind of their floor right now for the Green Bay Packers. All right, drum roll, please. Minnesota Vikings. They were 8-9 last year, despite losing a ton of close games down to the wire. Brand new coaching staff, brand new regime on the books. Their over-under win total this year in 2022, Reggie, is 9. An even 9. Flat solid, no 9.5, 8.5, 9 games. Reggie DeJohnny is taking the over for the Vikings at 9 and notes he doesn't think they'll necessarily light the world on fire, but feels very comfortable betting on them to be a double-digit win team this year. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I like this dude. I may have to start
I
following
like
him
this
on
guy.
Twitter.
What's this guy's name?
He's solid. He's solid. I do think that the schedule is tough. I'm taking a look at it. You start with Green Bay, go to Philly, Detroit, New Orleans, and London. Then you're talking about the Bears, the Dolphins, Cardinals, Commanders, Bills, Cowboys, Patriots, Jets. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty tough.
Yeah,
it's
no
gonna
gimmies.
be pretty tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Indy, the Giants should be improved. Then you got the Packers and Bears to end the season. This is gonna be tough. But you know what though? I think they built the team to be able to compete with each and every team that they're playing this year, and that's exciting because you're just they're gonna have a chance to win all of these games that they play. I don't see a game on this schedule that I'm just like, oh dang man, thanks for coming Minnesota, because that's an L. They almost beat the Cardinals last year. They did beat the Packers 1 out of 2 times last year. The Bills, okay, maybe the Bills game, you're just like, dang, I don't know about that one right there. But out of all the games, you're just like, man, you look at the weapons on the other side of the field and you're just like, I put the Vikings weapons up against just about anybody in the league. They can hang. And so, I would not be surprised if they did sneak over that double-digit win total this season, because you look at the team last year, they weren't terrible. There were so many games that went down to the final possession that could have gone either way, and they could have easily found themselves in the double-digit win category. So they think that they've improved the team to be able to be better in those close games like that. So if that's the difference, I could see them going double digits in wins.
Yeah, good point. I mean, they were in nearly every game last season down to the wire. Most of those went the other way, but they got a lot of buzz nationally from a lot of national experts, NFL experts around the country, and rightfully so. I mean, a pretty talented roster up and down that I think a lot of people agree just needed a fresh coaching change, hit the reset button. They not only get one, but they bring in a guy that brings in a new system that fits the landscape of this new pass-happy league, and they got the right pieces and weapons in place to kind of hit the ground running, I think, not have a long transition period here where it takes 4, 5, 6 weeks. They kind of sputter out the gate.
Yeah.
And an underperforming defense that now healthy should make a lot of noise and bounce back in a big way too. I think this team's young and hungry. Get back on track here this season. This is a 2-team division, no doubt. And the Vikings, I think you said it last week, are going to be nipping at the heels of the Packers all season long for that top spot. Going to be a lot of fun. These, of course, just a crapshoot. It's early, June 6th today, but it's fun to go up and down the division and see what experts in Vegas is saying about the NFC North.
Yeah.